It's the hog style.
Hey everybody out there. Our guest today is one of the newest beat reporters for the Redskins, Master Tesfatsion. He's a native of Irving, Texas, and a graduate from ASU's School of Broadcast Journalism. He worked covering the Texas Rangers for MLB.com, as well as the Minnesota Vikings before coming here to D.C. All this, and he's impressively only in his mid-20s. So let's welcome Master. Hey, how's it going?
What's going on, guys? Oh, damn, a standing ovation too.
Yeah.
Oh,
there you go.
I done came up, man.
We clap for all of our guests. Dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
you, Joe Jacoby, Doc Walker,
Doc Walker, B. Mitch.
Yeah,
Oh,
all our guests. But you're in good company, so
I'm
you don't have
bad
to worry about that.
absolutely nothing.
So, Master, since you are kind of new to the area, let's ask you a couple questions about kind of what got you into reporting and sports journalism. I saw you do a lot of multimedia broadcast journalism as well.
Yeah. I honestly, I'm not one of those people that kind of always dreamed about doing this. I wanted to play. I blew my knee out, and in high school, I had no clue what I wanted to do, and it was down to like joining the military or becoming a comedian. So it wasn't until my senior year. Throughout high school, I was kind of, in that class where, you do the whole student broadcast and do all that things.
Sure. The
and
AV
I always
club.
talk about what was it called? What'd you say?
The AV club.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But it was one of those schools where it was kind of, that was like your specialized. You took that class every day.
Sure.
So I just kind of took it as like, a joke around class. Thought it was pretty easy. Just to kind of, play around and not really do something serious. And then, my teacher was like, well, you could cover sports if you want to and, go into journalism. Mm-hmm. I was just so naive. I thought it was just a bunch of, you look at the screen, it's just a bunch of old washed up athletes on TV. I didn't think people get paid for that, So once I did, I just kind of ran with it and took with it, and just wanted to get better at it, wanted to get really good at it. And, that's how I've gotten where I'm at now.
So wait a minute, you're telling me people actually do get paid for this? Because we haven't figured that part out yet.
Where is our money?
Surprisingly, they do, and hopefully I'll come to find out about that soon too.
Yeah, you do definitely. You've been making your way through the ranks, though, pretty impressively quick. You're what, 25, 26 now?
24.
You're still 24? Okay,
yeah.
I thought I saw somewhere from a year ago it said 24, but maybe it's not quite been a year, the report I read. But
no, birthday's in July.
Okay.
Shout out to my cancers.
Nice.
I got a year on you.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, Robbie's our youngest on our show. He's
well, now I'm the youngest now.
Yeah, now you're the youngest.
Unofficially.
Unofficially. Yeah. So what? All right. So what sport did you play? You said you blew your knee out. Were you a football player? Or?
Oh yeah, I played. Come on, man. I'm from Texas, man.
Okay.
There's only sport
fair
that matters.
enough.
We played football in Texas.
All the other sports are just to keep you in shape for football.
I saw you also. I mean, you cover a lot of baseball already in your background, so I was wondering if maybe you were a ball player too. I don't know.
I wanted to play baseball so bad, and I wanted to play football so bad, and didn't really get the chance to just because of financial reasons until sophomore year of high school. And once I finally got the opportunity, just during practice, I blew my knee out the day before the first game. So
what position were you?
I was one fat ass wide receiver.
Possession receiver, they call them.
Huh?
They call them possession receivers.
Yeah, that's what you want to call it. It was during the time when Texas was going, the whole spread situation. And I wanted to be a tight end. I was a big body with some good hands.
Sure,
and,
you got the Jordan Reed thing going.
Yeah, except he's a whole lot better than I ever was.
Well,
more like a broke down, poverty-stricken Jordan Reed. If you just strip down Jordan Reed to his bare bones, maybe you got me, maybe. But it just didn't work out, and that's fine.
So like that ham guy we got. We can move on from what tight end you're like. Well, okay, so you went from Texas.
That's a low blow. It's a low blow, man. No comment there. Next question.
All right, so real quick, so you went from Texas to Arizona. You've spent some time in Seattle, is that right? Or were you just working for their online paper?
I was an intern there at the Seattle Times, and that's where I met Jerry Brewer.
Okay,
nice.
First
Very
time.
nice.
So Jerry Brewer's a really good mentor of mine. He's been around for the last few years of my life. So he's obviously a phenomenal writer,
sure,
and someone I look up to. So. That experience was dope, man. I love Seattle. Seattle's a dope city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after you were in Minneapolis for what, 2 years or a year?
Just about 2 years.
Just about 2 years?
2 seasons. I jumped in mid-season like I did here, and covered the first entire season of Mike Zimmer.
Sure.
So how you liking the East Coast now?
It's different. Y'all are a lot more pretentious.
Yeah, we do have that.
It seems like everywhere I go, people are asking me what I do, what's my job. More so, it's like, really trying to get to know me. But I love how active it is. There's a lot more things to do.
Mm-hmm.
You're near just about anything. Whether you want to go to Philly or New York or, go down to the coast if you want to, Virginia Beach. There's just so much history. There's so much, culture in this area. It's very diverse. I've loved it so far. I'm more excited during the off season when I actually have some time. Once the
season's over,
I'm not grinding every day or going on road trips during the weekends, that I actually really get to enjoy the area. But so far, I love it.
Well, this awesome. Shows that you're kind of new to the Redskins because the off season is when we usually shine. That's usually our most exciting
that's
time.
When you drop like Albert Hainsworth money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. You never know what's going to happen.
Getting the scoop.
I think it'll be a little different now with when you got Scott McCloughan in now. Got a guy who's trying to build through the draft.
Sure.
I don't. Maybe you'll still see them. Obviously they're going to probably still be active during the free agency, but I think the whole draft process and what when you really want to build a team through the draft, sometimes you just have to pass up some of those guys that you always drop money on. Like last year was Chris Culver, where instead of taking the Chris Culver, you'll have to take the B grades if you want to. Someone that's a little solid that. Maybe comparable to like a Will Blackman that you'll find in free agency, that you'll spend the money on for that and continue to develop those young guys that you have. So it'll be interesting in year 2 of Scott to see how that works.
Well, this is a great segue then, because we wanted to kind of ask you about the team, obviously, since you cover the team on a regular basis. Speaking of drafting.
It's just a personality.
Do you like long walks on the beach?
Not with you guys.
No, speaking of the draft, all of the rookie that Scott had brought in for the Redskins this first season with the Skins seem to be performing pretty darn well considering, the chances they've been earning. Jamison Crowder, Brandon Sheriff, obviously the first overall pick for us. Then we have Preston Smith that's showing flashes and Kyshon Jarrett. It's pretty impressive draft class that we're not used to. What do you think about those players?
The most impressive has been Brandon Sheriff. Coming into the draft, I thought he was a guard, and my biggest gripe, as you've heard from some other people as well, is that it's just tough to justify that high of a pick on a guard. That's an issue with my thoughts were, and especially when you had a guy like Leonard Williams, who I liked a lot. I thought it was kind of tough to pass up on a guy like that for Sheriff, but Sheriff's been really impressive, man, and not only has it just been a very solid guard already, but to see him have a lapse is almost shocking nowadays. He's not going to get moved too much. He's working really well on that side of the football, and he's been very durable as it is so far as well. He's playing really well, and I don't think you move him out of tackle. I think you keep him at guard, keep him where he's at. He continues to excel, and he could be someone who could be there for 10, 11 years.
Totally agree.
And you set yourself up with, you've already got 2 guys solidified on that offensive line with him and Trent, and you just build from there. Whether you see a Morgan Moses as he's coming along now, obviously with the injuries to Sean Laval and Corey Lichtensteiger, this could be a much better offensive line than it is right now. But there's some pieces there that you can work with that you can build around to whoever your quarterback is of the future, whether it's Kirk Cousins or someone else.
It helps that Morgan Moses has done so well as he's done, especially in training camp, because it could have been a whole different season for Brandon Scherf if he was still at right tackle at this point. Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And like you said, just being able to have that other option of another tackle that you can rely on and not have to force Sheriff to play somewhere that he's probably not comfortable with yet is definitely beneficial to Sheriff. So he's been good. And then I'd probably say the second most impressive rookie would be I'd say Kaishan Jarrett. I just think Fred's what was he was drafted. The flexibility that he's shown in that secondary where he can play safety, he played cornerback seamlessly in nickel. He's been used everywhere, and he's taken it all exceptionally well. He seems to be someone that's been very easily coachable, someone that's up for a challenge. And I mean, as we've seen in that interception that Will Blackman had, he might be a small guy, but he can thump. He can lay down a hit when need be, and that's kind of always. People always want to see that from their strong safety, quote unquote, which this team is kind of working more of a too high safety situation look. But I would say that, Jared is someone definitely that you look at with Brashad Breeland and Culliver as three key guys in that secondary for years to come here.
Do you see Jarrett eventually becoming the starting free safety, or is he just more like that mix and match interchangeable guy?
I think it depends on what you surround him with, and that's probably a really good thing for Scott McLuhan now is that, he can look at the free agency, he can look at the draft, and if there's not a nickel cornerback that he really likes or there's not a safety that he really likes, he can pop in Jared wherever he needs him at. And the thing about the NFL is there's always going to be injuries. So having a guy who's that versatile, Mike Zimmer was so big on that when I used to cover him in Minnesota. He wanted to find athletic, flexible guys who can be versatile at different positions because things pop up. And not only do things pop up, you can throw different looks at quarterbacks when you have versatile guys. And that's what they were able to do against Eli Manning, and it worked really well in the secondary.
Since we're talking about the secondary, the other name that really kind of stands out to you from the last game, it's got to be Blackman, right? I mean, he really stepped up out of nowhere, it feels like, as a fan.
Yeah, I mean, for a guy to come in, after week one and a couple weeks later, next thing you know, you use him as your starting cornerback for a couple weeks. What he's been able to do has been nothing short but of impressive. And, what do you want to give credit to, Perry Fuel, the secondaries coach, Deshaun Golson, who's the leader there in the secondary, but also Blackman's just a veteran. He knows what he has to do. He knows how to take care of business, and he's put himself in good positions and good situations with his technique, his body position, and being able to be around the ball. And that's the most important thing for a cornerback is that you're going to give up catches, but just make sure you're around the ball contesting balls because that will aggravate a wide receiver more so than anything else. If you're just always around him, pestering him, they get flustered by that stuff. So Blackman's been able to do that, regardless if it's Julio Jones or if it's Odell Beckham or whoever else it might be. He's played pretty. I mean, I guess in that Ruben Randall touchdown, I think it was that he was at a position on 4th and 16. But otherwise he's played well for. Given the situation, I would say. For sure.
I mean, one other player we haven't really gotten to, I'm sure you were going to, is Jamison Crowder.
Oh, yes.
He's to me, he's so good, but yet you don't really notice unless you watch it on film. He's just very sneaky good, getting open and creating space when he's running his routes. What do you think about him?
Yeah, he's great in space and particularly on those crossing patterns that you'll see over the middle, because he does such a great job of gaining separation on those, not only just to make the catch, but also to get yards after the catch. And, him and Kirk Cousins have been able to connect on those quite a bit. And the most impressive thing about him is that despite how small he is, he's been able to make a lot of tough contested catches, particularly his first touchdown catch that he had when he gets drilled and popped in the end zone, but still hangs on. Those kind of catches are just starting to see more and more from Crowder. It just tells you that he's got some toughness. He's got some some marbles, as they say. He can hang in there. And that's kind of a key element for a guy in the slot who's probably going to get popped more so than a lot of other guys are. That he can hang in there and take some of those shots. So,
sure.
It's always interesting because we had a debate on Twitter because I covered Stephon Diggs, and there's just a lot of similarities that you see in those two guys. The only difference I would say is that Stephon Diggs is a little bit bigger and he can play on the outside, but both of those guys have the same skill set and abilities as far as their speed, their quickness, their ability to get off the ball and create separation. And I think Jamison Crowder would be one. He has the potential to be a really good slot receiver for this team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he reminds me a lot of what Santana Moss was here in DC in his later years, where he didn't have that over-the-top speed that he had when he was young, but it's that agility to just make space really fast, and it's so impressive.
That's all it is at wide receiver, man.
Yeah.
Everyone gets so obsessed with these 4-2, 4-3 guys, but if you can't create space, you're worthless, man. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Ask Darius Hayward Bay.
exactly. You know, if you all you know is one route and that's just to go, you're a worthless NFL receiver because at the end of the day, you're a one-trick pony and people are gonna figure you out. And the more tricks that you learn, the more effective that you'll be. And the best way that you do that is through being a technician when it comes to route running, being a technician when it comes to the fundamentals and your technique at the position, specifically at wide receiver. So, I mean, someone I look at all the time that I admired growing up was Torrey Holt. And he was just such a great route runner. Him and Isaac Bruce were so great route runners. And, regardless of what the route was, they were always able to just do just enough of the small things to gain that 1 or 2 extra yards so that, a Kirk Warner or a Mark Bolger could hit them open in stride.
It helps when you have a guy with an arm like that, thrown to you, I'm sure.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking
but
of that,
it's not like they had some pretty bad quarterbacks to work with too, and they still put up numbers.
Yeah, that's true.
Mark Bolger.
Mark Bolger is a bit of a drop off from Kurt Warner. That's fair. Not that Kirk Cousins is in Mark Bolger's category, but since we are talking about the Redskins, we are by law required to ask you a few questions about Kirk Cousins.
Do we have to? Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I guess the big question is obviously people are starting to talk about long-term, contracts and things like that with Cousins. Do you think that talk is presumptuous at this point, or do you think this really is this something that fans have to be ready for? Is Cousins going to be here for the next 5 years?
Basically, the question is, do you think the Redskins like that?
Oh, God.
Why do you have to do that, Robbie?
I had to, man. Sorry.
Time to cancel this podcast. It was good knowing y'all. I'm out.
Oh, man.
But to answer your question, I don't know about 5 years, but I would say prepare to have Cousins back next year.
Sure.
In terms of whether there's actual talks or not, I mean, listen, there's still 5 games left.
Mm-hmm.
A lot can change to either improve his stock, but at the bare minimum, he's probably going to be he's probably going to be the prettiest girl in the room when it comes to free agency, because the only other quarterback that you can look at that has some sort of potential that's very young, like Kirk, I wouldn't say Kirk is very young, but young enough like Kirk Cousins, is Brock Osweiler, and there's no way in hell the Broncos are going to let him go. Mm-mm. So, there is some appeal from other teams, obviously, to get a guy like Kirk if they think they're one player away or whatever it might be. But I think Kirk needs Jay just as bad as Jay needs Kirk.
Yeah.
Just because of the way the offense has been set up, that Jay has been able to put Kirk in some very successful situations. And also, I mean, Jay has pretty much just sold the farm and put all of his eggs in Kirk's basket, and saying, essentially putting his own job in the same realm, I would say, or in the same bondage, in the same category with Kirk Cousins, because, if he fails, then pretty much Jay Gruden's going to fail too here,
Right.
So I would say prepare to see him here. As far as whether it be a 5-year contract, I don't think so. I think the team would probably prefer to do something like a Nick Foles type of deal where, maybe it's just front loaded for those first 2-3 years, and there's some escape routes there in year 3, year 4, or even a year 5, whatever it might be. But if he does play well, then there's some, he's going to be compensated exceptionally well in those years. So I don't think how you can move on from it. The thing that I would do is that I would sign him to an extension of that kind of with that kind of structure, and also draft a rookie quarterback. So just in case things don't work out, that you have somebody in the wing. And as we've seen before in 2012, you can never have enough quarterbacks.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
I'm actually in the exact same boat. I want them to draft someone maybe in the 4th or 5th round or something. Let them sit there, learn for a few years, and then if Kirk doesn't work out, you have somebody else.
Hey, there's a backup quarterback they can trade for in Minnesota that somebody knows on this podcast.
Yeah,
I do know of one.
Yeah.
Taylor Heineke waiting in the wings for his chance. Trust me. But I want to kind of ask you about your relationship with the players. You know, being a younger beat reporter, I would think that they're a little more open to talking with you. I feel like they probably could relate to you more so than the older crowd of the beats people. Maybe
No
I'm wrong.
disrespect to Rick Snyder.
Or like Jason Reed, or some of the older guys that have been around there for a while. Who are the good guys? Who do you like to talk with and kind of mess around with?
I mean, it's overall, man. It's a pretty good locker room. I'm not even gonna lie. It's got a lot of. It doesn't have probably the superstar pop as some other locker rooms would have. Like say, for instance, in Minnesota, obviously you had Adrian Peterson,
Sure,
right?
The appeal of Bridgewater. You had like young studs like Anthony Barr, Harrison Smith, and Everson Griffin.
Mm-hmm.
But here it's more of guys maybe that are either the veterans like a Ricky Jean-Francois or Jason Hatcher, or they're guys who have kind of been overlooked, throughout their careers that are putting on now, like a Chris Baker,
right?
Right.
So I mean overall I'd say it's a pretty good locker room. I mean Ricky Jean-Francois, Chris Thompson, let's see who else, Jason Hatcher, Chris Baker, pretty much the whole entire defensive line. Trent Williams for sure. I mean Trent Williams, he's
a clown.
He's such dude. He is very intelligent in what he says, as far as like in terms of just like all NFL players. Like he really processes like the questions that people ask and comes up with very, very intelligent responses that you typically do not see from NFL athletes. Usually you kind of hear the typical old cliches, but Trent will let you know if you ask a dumb question. Like he'll just be like, no,
clown question, bro.
Yeah, but Trent's a really good dude in the locker room, and overall just a good guy as well.
Well,
Cool.
Speaking of Trent, I saw your story about the dark locker room today.
Oh yeah,
that's a good one.
You had some good quotes from him in there. I have to really ask you real quickly about just your writing style. You have a kind of poetic writing style, which you don't often get from beat reporters here. Usually what we get is, here's who's injured, here's the facts, and that's that. You seem to go into a little bit more of some artistic license. Where did you kind of get that from? Maybe artistic license isn't the right word, but
the hell if I know.
Yeah, no.
I don't know, man. I mean, probably just from a lot of my mentors that I've just been able to just kind of pick apart what I like about them, and other writers. Obviously, like I said, Jerry's helped me out a lot, and you see a lot of his poetic writing that he does that I've been influenced by over the last 4 or 5 years now. I'd say for 4 years now.
We see you and Mike Jones going back and forth, like he's calling you the young buck type thing.
Oh yeah, I love Mike, man. See, Mike's a grinder, dude. Mike's a dog, dude. Like he busts his ass off. He works extremely hard. And Liz Clark is, I mean, Liz. If you're calling me poetic, but Liz is the most poetic on our beat. She's pretty much just a walking dictionary, and a walking thesaurus. Like she crafts her leads so cleverly, and she has the right word for everything. It's overall, man, it's a really good staff to work with, man, and it's honestly an honor because I know a lot of people always dream about working for this paper, and for me, I wouldn't say necessarily it was a dream. I mean, I never grew up even reading the Washington Post. We never got the Washington Post.
No one around in Texas, it's fair.
But still, like, Washington Post is like a national paper, man.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And even nowadays, I mean, with the internet and stuff, it's, I guess the point I'm trying to make is just that it's such a recognized brand that maybe I never thought that I would even ever get here. So I never thought about even working here, or it wasn't even a dream. Like, it was just so unreachable, unobtainable that it wasn't possible. But just to be here and just to be around all that town, I guess that's probably what fuels me the most, is just reading other people's stuff here and being like, damn, man, I gotta step my game up, man, because I can't be the weak link here. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I might be the youngin, but I can't come weak because everybody else is coming hard, so I gotta go hard too.
Like a friendly competition.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say more so a competition, because that that makes it sound like somebody's got to be a winner or a loser.
Right.
Mm.
This is just
feeding off each other.
Iron sharpening iron. Yeah, this is more of a classroom setting. We're all learning.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I I mean, I didn't really. That wasn't really a question I had originally. It was just you mentioned Trent Williams, and I wanted to bring up that that last story you wrote.
Oh
today,
no, it's all
so,
good.
Yeah.
It's the freestyle of a podcast, man. You never know what's going.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
As long as we ain't talking about things that we shouldn't be talking about, we gonna be all right.
Yeah, well, we even talk about those things sometimes.
And now the Dan Snyder question. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm actually curious, though. You mentioned since you brought it up earlier at the beginning, you thought about becoming a comedian. Now, most comedians, I gotta ask. Most comedians.
I should say failed comedian.
Failed comedian. Okay.
So,
well,
wait, did you dream of becoming a failed comedian?
It's been in my mind ever since I was 5. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, it's cool. I feel that I gotta ask you, since you had dreams of that originally. Every comedian has, maybe 1 or 2 impressions that they're really good at, or something. Do you have any impressions?
Not off the top of my head, man. It's
okay.
One of those
I kind of put you on the spot, but I felt like I should ask.
Robbie does a lot of impressions. He does voice work on the side, so that's why he always gets really into that.
Man, I don't know. I'm not. I always think like whether I'm. Who's really good at impressions is Mike Jones, man. Mike is ridiculous at impressions, and I can do some impressions, but when you have a guy like Mike Jones in the room, in the media room, and he's always doing all these impressions, like you don't even want to try, because whatever you do, you're just gonna seem so stupid. You know what I'm saying?
I'd like to challenge him at one point.
But he body you, bro. He eat you, man.
Okay.
He put you through a washing machine, bro, and put you on heavy duty, bro, and you're gonna be circling around for 2 hours.
Does he have a Jay Gruden?
I don't know.
All right.
Robbie's got a great Jay Gruden.
Does he?
Give me a beat question.
Coach, you just defeated the Giants 20-14. Can you just talk about what this team win meant for the organization and for your tenure here as a Redskins head coach?
Well, it says a lot. We got a lot of big bang plays going on. Felt Kirk Cousins took care of the football pretty well. Sorry. The offensive line, they blocked their butts off.
You got to throw some your nose. There it is. Yeah.
Yeah, he does this little swallow. It's like,
nope.
Into the microphone. But then he goes, we got a little bit of injuries. Quentin Dunbar, he dislocated his finger.
Okay, you nailed that one right there. Because he emphasized the Dunbar. Like, that was a good one right there.
He's a little banged up, but I think he'll be okay.
He'll be day to day. That was good, man.
Thank you.
Well, Robbie brought us on the Jay Gruden topic real quick. I have to ask you one thing that's kind of I'm the minority on our crew. I think I actually like Gruden a lot. Some of the other guys we do our show with hate him, and Robbie's back and forth, I think, more. But let me ask you one question that's puzzling me a lot. Is what we're seeing what Jay Gruden really wants the offense to be long term, or is this just him kind of working with the pieces he has, do you think?
Well, I think the first 4 games was a really good example of what the offense is currently with what they have. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you have to put it into place with what Kirk Cousins' limitations are. He's not going to be a guy that you can just sling it on him, throw it on his shoulder, which I guess as of late he has been that kind of guy because the run game still has been terrible.
Right.
But, ideally this would be a team that plays, solid defense, that runs the ball really well, that can play off the play action, those kind of things, and create some opportunities. Mm-hmm. Essentially the blueprint that worked in Seattle, which you're seeing work now in Carolina, which has worked since the existence of football and probably will always work as long as you have the right personnel for it.
Right.
I don't know if they'll ever be that kind of, slang around type of team that maybe he had in his offense in Cincinnati because, that was the different makeup. You look at the receivers that they had there, you look at the quarterback that they had there, it's just a completely different team. Mm-hmm. Whereas here, you've got a Alfred Morris, you got a Matt Jones, you got a tight end like Jordan Reed that can pass catch. And you don't have the AJ Green. You don't have a guy like, Andy Dalton, which I guess I can say now the way he's playing this year. But, you don't have a guy who could just kind of sling it around for 4,000 yards type of guy. So, if they're still in the direction of going to Kirk Cousins, then I think this is what exactly they want to set up, and this is how they'll be. And I think a big deal of that, and I think a big reason that you're starting to see that maybe that being the imprint, moving forward, was the decision to draft Matt Jones. So that just kind of shows that, whenever they do move on from Alfred Morris, which I think will be at the end of this year, that they're still going to have a running back in place that can still ground out those tough yards, in between tackles or whatever it might be, and be able to do a little bit more than Alfred Morris wasn't able to do in pass catching situations.
And running backs are, dime a dozen. Scott could easily find another, late round running back to fill in, behind Jones and Thompson when that day comes for Alfred,
Yeah.
So it sucks. 'Cause Alfred's a great guy, and he's done a lot for the team since he's been there, but it's the business.
You sound like Jay Gruden there.
Sorry, it comes and goes.
Once he goes in, he can't turn it off.
We'd hate to see Alfred go, but
do you think is Scott still have Jay Gruden's back?
Yeah, I've seen some tweets of people, all these Redskins fans trying to speculate whether they're not on the same page or not. I think they're both on the same page. I think they both know kind of what direction they want to go to from here. Sometimes you'll see a situation where a GM will want to bring in his own guy, but I don't think that's the case right now. I think Scott and Jay are trying to work out together to try and build this team through the draft. And, obviously, as you're seeing right now, they're supposed to be in rebuilding mode, but, they're in first place of the NFC East right now. And I think what people have to understand is that the way the season is going, if they do go 8-8 next year, that's not necessarily a disappointment because,
right.
It's still year two of a team that's trying to build through the draft, and that doesn't happen overnight. And that's something people have to understand is that there's still a lot of pieces that this team still needs, and they just happen to be in a division this year where it's just been really terrible. With the whatever's going on in Philly with Chip Kelly, the absence of Tony Romo with his collarbone injury, the Giants being the Giants. The Redskins have just been, very fortunate with those kind of 3 bad seasons from those teams, and also, in essence, having a schedule that's very beneficial for them in terms of the wins and losses.
Well,
yes.
Let me just say sorry about all the speculation tweets on behalf of all the Redskins fans.
Oh, no, I've gotten used to that. I thought Minnesota
We're a crazy
was bad.
bunch, man.
I thought Minnesota was bad. Y'all are terrible, man. Y'all will just make up all these damn theories. Let me look up this one that someone just sent me today that I was just like, dog, this is the dumbest piece of.
I think it's our politics background here. We love a conspiracy.
Dog, man.
That's where I think it comes from.
I can't stand it, to be honest.
Okay, so here it is. Okay, so Deshaun Golson had said, there's no difference between a good team and an average team. It's just a mindset, which I agree because you look at the separation of some teams, it's 1 or 2 games can completely be the difference between, whether a coach gets fired or a coach goes to the playoffs.
Right.
7-9 and 9-7.
Those small differences, and it honestly is a mindset. So this guy. And I'm just gonna call him out. I really don't care. At Redskin Potato because his handle's terrible.
Oh, it's the hacked joke from the '80s that Kornheiser came up with.
Is it Mr. Potato Head as his picture?
Yeah. So
he's a friend of yours, Robbie.
I've seen him on Twitter all the time.
Okay.
So he sends 3 question marks and he's like, so Mark Sanchez would be just as good as Tom Brady if he had a different mindset. No. Listen here. There's a difference between being a good team and a great team.
Right.
Like, you gotta understand, there's levels to this. You know what I'm saying? Like, Tom Brady and the Patriots aren't just a good team. That you're highly underestimating their ability if you're just saying that.
It's like saying everyone in the NFL is a B+, and Tom Brady's the A+.
That's like the funny mailbag questions Mike Jones gets at the Insider. There was one back in training camp that was asking. No, it was before. It was back. I think it was last year. Aldrick Robinson was in camp with Deshaun, and the guy was like, "What's the difference between Aldrick Robinson and Deshaun Jackson? Really? I mean, they're both the same player. That kind of thing. Come on, man."
Like sometimes you just kind of wonder what people are watching, but You come to get used to it. You know why? Because everyone on Twitter ain't smart, and that's just kind of something you have to deal with.
Yeah.
There are dumb people in this world.
No.
More on this at 11.
Who you calling a moron?
I don't know. I mean,
You can't fix stupid.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate my stupidity.
Well, let's test your stupidity right now and get you to predict what you think how the rest of the season is going to play off with these final 5 games. We got next week, obviously, against the Cowboys at home, and then we follow that with at the Chicago Bears, and then home against the Bills, and then we finish with away game at Philly, and then at Dallas. How you feeling?
I think they can go 3-2.
3-2?
I think they can go 3-2, 8-8. If they do that, they should beat the Cowboys on Monday. They should beat the Eagles on the road. I know it's a road game. Go ahead. The Redskins haven't won a road game since the Cowboys last year. They've only won one road game since the Jay Gruden era. How the hell can you think they can win a road game? Well, I think they can because the Eagles suck. I mean, it's the Eagles are just about to just completely just break down because they play the Patriots this week.
Yeah.
They also play another tough team. I don't have the schedule up right now, but
No,
I mean,
they do not have an easy schedule going.
No, they don't. They have. In fact, I did it 2 days ago. They have a tougher schedule than the Giants, and the Giants have a tough schedule.
Yeah, they play the Jets this week.
Yeah. So, and I mean, the Giants still have the Vikings too in Minnesota. So, as long as they take care of the Cowboys and they can win the Eagles on the road there, I think that they can go 8-8, and they'll probably be good enough to win the division, considering who the Giants still have to face, who the Eagles still have to face, and the Redskins playing a bunch of teams that are below 500.
Hey, I'll be happy with an 8-8. That I predicted 7-9. So,
but at the bye week, I predicted 7-9. People thought I was crazy, which now 7-9 seems very plausible.
Yeah, it does. And you know what? We're building that. I'll take that.
Yeah.
So you think 8-8, and you said playoffs. I assume you don't think we'll get out of the first round.
No, because you'll face either the Packers or the Vikings, and I don't think they can beat any of those teams.
No. Mm-mm. Well, you got anything else there, Robbie? Any other final questions or?
No, I'm good. Feel free to join us anytime, man. You're a great interview.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, anytime, guys, man. No doubt.
Yeah, and like I said, I am serious. I love your writing style. There's something about how you're doing. I don't want to, because this gets overused in DC, but it's kind of got that Shirley Povich eloquence to it. But and I hate to use that because I think that gets overused. Shirley Povich parallels.
Well, you're also really into your music. I mean, almost every tweet. I mean, I see all the other beat reporters making fun of you for sharing your. John Kime especially likes to hate on you for sharing your music on Twitter.
He loves joking around with it, but that's I'd rather. I feel like you can. People who read those tweets in our audience or whatever, they can build a better bond in that. Just kind of get to know who I am without me kind of spilling all my damn private life stuff out there. I mean, everyone loves music. Music is a very important, vital part of my life.
Of course.
And, I feel, the impact that music has had on my life is very essential and something that I can relate to a lot of people on. So that kind of bond that I've been able to build with some people on Twitter, just over music or whether sports or whatever it might be, fashion or shoes.
Oh, yeah, you're a big shoe guy. I saw that somewhere, that you've got 40-something pairs of shoes.
More than that, bro.
More?
40-something? Dog, nah. 40-something?
This was an interview about 2 years ago that I saw when you started in Minneapolis.
That was actually like right when I got to the Washington Post, because we did the interview right before training camp, and she never had a chance to edit it until I got here after I left. So, yeah, I think at the time I said I had probably like 60, and I can say with confidence that number has gone up significantly over the last 3 months. I've done nothing but, especially during the season, I always shop, man, because shopping is like my outlet.
Do you got a go-to brand when it comes to shoes, or you?
I do anything, man. I mean, I can do designer stuff. Like I got some Yoshi, some Adidas Y3s. I got some Jordans. I got some Cole Haans. I got whatever it might be. Hugo Boss. I got such a wide variety of shoes that I don't like to limit myself to just kind of going to one brand because.
Okay. I know some shoe guys are like brand loyal. That's all.
Oh no, not me. If it look good on me, that's all that matters.
Okay.
That's how I go by.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm the opposite. I wear one pair of shoes until it completely falls apart, and then I wear it for another month, and then I buy another pair. I'm that guy. I'm cheap.
To go back to something, to even put my name in the same sentence as Shirley, nah, hell no. Nah.
Okay, like, no. I understand that, but I'm just saying I really am enjoying the way you go about telling a story rather than just giving the facts.
Oh man, well, I appreciate that, man. I really do. I really do. I've tried to work hard on it just to kind of do more than just tell you like it is. You know,
sure.
I like to, throw some little in that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, if you're already doing this at 24, man, you're gonna get scary good pretty quickly. I get the feeling.
We'll see, man. I could just as easily fail and go back to Dallas and be working at a Burger King. So
we all could be doing that.
But even then, I'll be writing some dope ass, letters behind receipts for people. You know what I'm saying? Just some say, girl, I hope you have a nice day with this Whopper.
You can have it your way.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Well, I think we're not putting that in the show.
It's got to.
Oh, yeah, you got to put that in the show, man.
All right, fine. If you're okay with it in the show, I'm okay with it in the show,
cool.
man.
Oh, it's hilarious.
All right. Well, Master, it was really cool having you on the show. And like Robbie said, we'd love to have you back on. I know, you get bigger offers from the junkies and stuff like that every now and then now. But
so really appreciate your time.
But yeah, we really appreciate your time, and we'd love to have you back on it anytime.
And tell Mike Jones I'm waiting for his challenge.
All right, we'll do, man. We'll do. I'll tell him tomorrow.
Yeah.
Take these guys.
All right, have a good one.
Thanks, man.